Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today at Warphammer. I have a special guest, Bryan, who just finished third at a GT with his Disciples of Bellicor. Bryan, my friend, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Just got off work.
Yeah,
Very happy.
I know it's funny. You're you're on the grind because you had the GT last weekend. You have another tournament tomorrow morning. Um, let's talk a little bit about your 40K background because I know obviously you play Disciples, which means you play a bit of every god. Have you been playing for a long time?
Yeah, so I've been playing since oh geez, I think third edition. Third edition.
Respect,
A
respect.
long time. So since I was in about middle school or so. Somewhere in there.
Oh wow. So was it always chaos for you?
No, my first ever army was Black Templars, and then I went
Okay.
to Space Wolves. And I think I played Bloodthirster at some point in there, and I was like full on chaos ever since then.
That's awesome. Do you still have your old Marine armies?
I do. I have a full Space Wolf army. My Black Templars were middle school me, so I'm not sure where they are, but I have a full Space Wolf and many other armies though. But I play pretty much everything. Dark
Awesome.
Angels, Orcs, Dark Eldar. Oh geez, pretty much all the Chaos Gods, Chaos Space Marines. Those are my significant ones. But I've played a little bit of Necrons. I've had everything.
No, that makes complete sense. I can definitely relate. I used to feel like everyone that plays for a long time has just like armies and minis they've just lost over time.
Yeah, like I forgot how to play. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm just like, I feel like I used to have like an entire night that I lost in the move. I just have no idea where it went.
I've never played Knights, not one time. The Knights came out, and I haven't played them yet. I think I did with the new Chaos stuff coming out and the Chaos Knights. I'm intrigued, especially with that little snippet that we saw that we could put them in Disciples of Bellicor, and piques my interest. So
Oh,
I'll probably play Knights before too long.
that's gonna be spicy. Let's talk a little bit about your list because you ran Disciples of the GT. And you ran it was like both like a list we've kind of seen before, but also something you had your own really unique twist on it. Let's start off, obviously, at Bellicor. Can you talk about your HQs and the choices you made?
Yeah, okay. So in the last GT, it was Bellicor, a Changecaster, and then a Lone Sorcerer. And the obviously Bellicor, gotta have Bellicor because you gotta have him. He's the weakest part of the whole army, which is ridiculous. If we could just get rid of Bellicor, then we'd be far better than what we are. But we can't, so we have to use him. And then Changecaster, obviously enough, he's buffs my pink horrors. If I want to summon flamers, he buffs the flamers with flickering flames. Pretty just clutch overall, like with and also auto casting, which I think I should have used auto casting on Shadow Step. We'll talk about that later because that's pretty much how I lost the last game. But I put Shadow Step and Wreathed Shades on my Sorcerer in this pass list. And in the Sorcerer, very strong in a Bellicor army because obviously you have to spend 2 CP and then you automatically pass on a 1, and then you can get D6 demons back. So instead of losing 4 demons, you gain 3. So very good.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just to clarify, so you bought the instruments, and the icons, and all the troops, I'm assuming.
Always, yeah. That's just an automatic thing. Just put them in there.
That's fair. Yeah. So let's talk about the troops because that's kind of, I think we both agree, the strength of Disciples. What do you have there in that troop slot?
Yeah, so in the last week's list was 2 big bricks of Plaguebearers. I think one was 27 and one was 26, and then a 30-man unit of Bloodletters, and then a 20-man unit of pink cars. I wanted to go a little bit bigger on the pink cars, but honestly, people are just so scared to shoot them now that they know they're going to split, and that's why I chose 20 because 9 times out of 10 people just aren't shooting them. So.
Yeah. No, that was an interesting choice because I feel like everyone kind of just slams in the brick of 30 pinks because that's one of the strengths of the army. But 20 is really cool. Did you find that was their shooting useful at all? Because one of the benefits of 30 is you keep them getting 3 shots each for longer. Is that something you tried at all?
I almost think their shooting is like negligible in most matches. It's just like, sure, that's cool. It's cool to like think of a couple of Harlequin matches. It just picked up like 5 dudes.
Yeah.
Which was nice. But unless you're really teching for like being like a really big push with the +1 damage and then deep striking them in and really hammering down. It's hard to get, especially on GW terrain, which is what we were using.
Yeah.
It's hard to get 30 dudes even in line of sight to even shoot them.
Yeah, seriously. It's only 18 inches. It's not very long at all.
Yeah, I mean, you can advance and obviously, and then you can give them full rerolls with Bellicor, which is good. But yeah, if you, I don't know. I like them in the 20-man blob just as like a threat and to pick up like little things. But very rarely do I actually dump, what is it? The full amount of shots in there. I almost never do it. Almost, I don't shadow step my pinks. So there you go.
Yeah, cool. So we have the Bloodletters, we have the Horrors, we have the Plaguebearers. I noticed there was no Nurglings in the list, which I think they're like, again, they're so expensive these days. A lot of people, they still like to have the one unit just to stop forward deploying units. What was kind of just one more Plaguebearers?
I love Nurglings. Actually, it was really tough for me not to put them in the list because the Nurgling infestation stratagem is just nuts. So
it's so good.
You get 9 of them, you forward deploy them, and then you charge, and then all of a sudden whatever they charge is in combat for 3 or 4 turns, like because they can't get out with Nurgle plus. It's just so good. I really wanted it, but I felt like I needed bodies more in my meta than I did Nurgling. So a lot of the stuff in my meta, there's a lot of guys bringing Tau and whatnot, and they just pick them up. Like you forward deploy the Nurglings, and then they just kill them into one shooting base.
Yeah, just
so there's just like 225 points, I think it is. It's just down the drain, and that's the whole perk. You want to put them up front and threaten things and say, hey, you can't kill it, but they can. So I didn't bring them this time, but I do think they're great.
Sure. Okay. Let's talk elites. I think you had. Let's see. Was this one of the Flamer bricks, or what did you have there?
No. I didn't put any no elites in this list. I left room to summon, so I could summon. Most of the time, I would summon a Herald of Slaanesh because he's 55 points, so whatever. Yeah, and then I can use stratagems and stuff like that with. Psychic actions with the Slaanesh Herald, and then that would leave me open to summon some Flamers. Flamers, I think, are the maybe best unit in the Demon Codex. They're just silly good.
Yeah, no disagreement here. No, they're Flamers. Especially, and then after the points drop too, like 20 points a model that has a really good auto hitting Flamer and has a 4-up invuln. Yeah, I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
180 points of just death. They're so good. Obviously, diminishing returns when you can't give all of them the mortals on 6s, and you can't give all of them +1 to wound, but still, when you hit a crisis suit unit with 9 Flamers with +1 to wound and doing mortals on 6s, it's going to hurt. I know, because you hit them with the Bloodletters and the Flamers, and you're going to kill the crisis unit.
Oh yeah.
I guess we'll get to that later, but yeah, that was the gist.
Sure. I think you also had some Furies in the list, right?
That's just fair. It's all actions, like just to be annoying. Like I didn't do 6, and I didn't suffer for it, which is good. But 6 are going to be in the next for the rest of the time because that's just too scary.
That's fair.
To try to rod and not roll a 6. That's not good.
Yeah. So what's interesting in the list is obviously the summoning points. You talked a little bit about how you use them. You summon a Slaanesh Herald generally, and then some Flamers. What was kind of the thinking on? Because that gives you what? That's like 100. You had like 300 or 400 points or so. You still have some points left over. Was that really just splitting after you summoned those, or what was kind of the thinking there?
Splitting is great, but really, just when you think about it, summoning 9 brimstones and 1 horror with an instrument is crucial sometimes.
Yeah.
Like just, obviously, that for non-demon players, that gives you 10 OBSEC bodies with a 8-inch charge. They like if you give. I mean, I'm not saying that you would do it, but if you did, like some 3 of them, and then you have 3 squads that could charge 1 objective with an 8-inch charge. So there's a good chance that you're going to get 1 of them.
Yeah. especially if they overwatch you, then you get really spicy. You got nice.
Then you really can.
Charge.
Most people down here kind of understand that we shouldn't overwatch my pink cards when I'm charging them. But I'm sure there's lots of people that don't really have the demon meta. There's like 5 demon players that are
there's not many
actually play them.
And the issue is like half the people that would be playing demons are stuck up in Alaska right now, and all our tournaments are kind of still shut down. So it's basically you and a few other guys holding down the fort. So major props to you.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, let's talk secondaries because I know you talked a little bit about actions. I'm going to guess you took Stranglehold basically every game because when I'm playing Disciple, it's just auto Stranglehold. What are the other 2 secondaries you're picking?
Well, Rod is a very good secondary, obviously. I mean, even if you don't get all of them, you still get a lot of points. But you can shadow step things to places, and then they have to focus on killing them. And it's definitely solid secondary. Obviously, all the psychic actions, interrogation, ritual. If you have something in the middle of the board, ritual a lot. I mean, actually, I was thinking that I wanted to max things right in interrogation, but ritual's almost better every time. Like every time I feel like ritual's been better. Except maybe Tau, but if you still have all the characters alive at that long, Tau's probably already tabled you. So I don't know. I think I'm a ritual guy from here on out. I don't know if I'm going to interrogate much more. Try to get the extra 3 points. It just doesn't feel like it's worth it. No, and strangle, ritual, to the last times. If you feel like you can see the last, the 2 Plaguebearer bricks obviously I build it that way so that the Plaguebearers were going to be the main ones, and then Bellicor would be the other one. Bellicor doesn't really do anything in the army, to be fair. He just sits back in a corner and says, "Don't come over here," and well, hopefully he doesn't usually die, honestly, because people don't shoot him. Unless you're Tau or Eldar. Well, I forget that, or Harlequins. Anything right now in the meta can go out and get him. But yeah, so that's the gist. Most of the time it was always strangle, ritual, or interrogate, rod, or to the last, pretty much every time. Banners too. I mean, if banners is but banners is very situational.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, what's interesting is you brought up a really good point that I think a lot of people don't understand is that Bellicor in Disciples does not play like Bellicor in like a Demons list with like a bunch of keepers regression forward. He is, again, people talk about he's like -2 to hit in the army, -1 to wound at range. He is fragile for his points. He is like, again, like I've played a game against Tau in tournament, and one of my friends came up, he's like, "Wow, it must have sucked playing Tau. You lost Bellicor turn 1." I was like, "No, I didn't," because I realized if I put him even like an inch forward against Tau, he is instantly dead. He's like will not survive a turn in the open. So he literally, as you said, just sat behind a wall the whole time.
We'll bring him out.
I was like, yeah, if I could just replace this with like another block of Plaguebearers and like a cheap HQ, 100% I would. But oh well.
The army would be 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
And we looked at it. I know it's wrong, but I know this is not right, but we tried because it says Bellicor must be your warlord, right? But we're like, well, what about if we just don't put him in the army? Then he doesn't have to be your warlord. Like he's got to be your warlord. Yeah, I know it's wrong, but we try. Like we got to fight for everything we got as demon players.
No, for sure. No, that'd be really funny. Yeah, well, because the army is called Disciples of Bellicor. It's not called Bellicor and his disciples. So if you can just bring the disciples, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. You could be a really cool Changecaster as the warlord. It'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Save 380 points. Woo.
Yeah, and that's actually, speaking of Changecaster, that's one of the things I don't like about the army, is you get the free relic, but it's basically always wasted because you have to give it to the Changecaster, and I mean, there's like nothing there.
Yeah.
What do you even have in your list on the Changecaster?
In my list, I put it Flickering Flames and then Infernal Gateway.
Gotcha. I meant in terms of the free relic.
Oh, the free relic? Oh, geez. I don't even know if I put anything on him in that army. Okay, there's give me a little bit of credit here. I was actually on a cruise when I built this list.
Okay.
And so I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and then my the TO was like, "Hey Brian, you need to submit your list," and I was like, "I'm using cruise ship Wi-Fi, so I'm trying to like make my list real quick, and I'm hammered on the cruise, and I put it together. Oh my gosh, I don't even think I put a relic on the Changecaster. Did I in that list?
I'm going to check in VCP right now. This is we have to figure this out because if you finish third out of GT without a relic,
wait. But to be fair, the relics in Cast Demons are trash.
Oh, they're utter garbage. It's either the Forbidden Gem or
like, what, I'm going to put Impossible Robe on them or something.
Yeah, like a 3-bin all the way out. They'll just take
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't think I did.
Cool. Well, official Warphammer recommendation: just don't bring any relics. That's the secret to success.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I think if I was going to bring anything, I probably would have put Impossible Robe on it, right? I mean, that's the.
Yeah, I'm checking a BC period. You did not put a relic on the Changecaster. You have no relic on the list.
I didn't use it either.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I probably, but for all the demon players, that's probably the relic to choose is Impossible Robe.
Yeah.
If you're going to choose one, but he doesn't do anything. It was just he never really got into combat.
Yeah, just kind of.
Actually, no, he got absolutely obliterated by a solitaire. That happened once.
Yeah, a Changecaster versus solitaire is not a fight you're going to win. Okay, so in this list, let's see. Yeah, you mentioned the powers you gave him: Flickering Flames, which I think is pretty standard. Really good on horrors or summon flamers or something. You also have the second power though, Infernal Gateway. Did that ever make a difference?
I love that power. I think it's the best power in the game.
Yeah, easily up there.
Yeah, you can just the amount of mortal wounds that you can get out of that power if people don't understand what's going on, especially if they pile in with like Harlequins, Tau, like Dark Harlequins, obviously Tau, and pretty much every army that wants to bunch up around an aura. Like you can find an angle and hit, and do 4d3 mortal wounds with 1 CP.
Yeah,
and unbelievably good.
Yeah, I find like what you're saying is often like I'll mention I have the power and then they'll deploy. So if I get turn 1, I can't get off. But then like turn 3 or 4, what they're gonna do is like they're gonna charge a few things, they're gonna pile in somewhere, they're the little angle they expose. And I'm like, cool. So yeah, I think you forgot like the second power, and I'm gonna spend that CP. I'm just gonna blow up for like 10 or so mortal wounds. So it's beautiful.
No, it's amazing power, and sometimes that's worth more than the +1 to wound, or you obviously just spend the extra CP and cast them both. But
so
no, I think Infernal Gateway is obviously going to go away here soon. It's just too good.
Yeah.
But I mean, remember back when you could do it on 1,000 Suns and give them +4 to cast, and then cast Infernal Gateway with +4 to cast,
and you got the +1 damage warlord trait. Yeah, that was
it was devastatingly good. I felt like I was back in GW tournament in Orlando. I ran a very strange Tzeentch list. I was full on Tzeentch back then, and so I'd run like 1,000 Suns patrol and then a Tzeentch patrol, or no, I can't remember, was it patrol or battalion? Either way, and that was so good. You just like you hit them with that little cabal of sorcerers, and you take out half Space Marine armies. It was just so good.
No, that was amazing. So let's go ahead and talk about the matchups, because you took the hard road there. You were 4-1, finished third, but it was you started off with 4 wins, only losing a very interesting game to 9 Harlequin Void the Weavers round 5. Let's kind of go through round by round, because round 1 was against Orcs, and this was actually really funny that you played Orcs, because part of the reasons I first started playing Disciples was when Orcs were really good. I was like, wait, we can just walk around with like -2 to hit Plaguebearers, which are amazing into Orcs. On paper, this feels like a good matchup for you. Can you talk about how that game played out?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first off, this is, I guess, one of my good buddies, Jacob Thayer. He actually paints a lot of my stuff for the Hobby Goblins. He's incredible, like always way up there in Hobby Track guy, amazing. He painted all my my Beast of Nurgle that I took to LVO this past year. Just freaking great. But I've never actually played him before, so he challenged me first round, and the TO was cool with it, which I thought was awesome. So we went and played each other, and yeah, and exactly what you're saying is true. I mean, I didn't give him anything to kill. He didn't really the freebooters whole +1 to hit thing. I didn't give him anything to hit. Like it was just I reserved the Furies. I think I actually kept the Bloodletters on the board, but I went first. I think that's what it was. I put them way back in the back. But yeah, then they're hitting you on 6s at that point. Like you can't really do. And for what they got line of sight on, they just couldn't kill me. I think first turn he literally killed 8 Plaguebearers because that's what I gave him to shoot.
Yeah.
And then I used the stratagem to auto pass morale and I got 6 back. It was bad.
That's gotta be it.
And I was half asleep during that game too. So
yeah, no, that's gotta be frustrating when that banner pops.
He was a scholar about it. It was great.
Yeah. So it looks like a really dangerous list on paper. So I took some notes on it. It was 2 Blasted Jets, which those are no joke. Again, against you would love having 3+D3 going to Plaguebearers. You'll take that all day. Death Copters are scary, but again, it's a lot of high damage. You don't care about Squig Buggies. I mean, again, just a reminder for people that don't know, because you touched on this. They don't hit on 4s. They're ballistic skill 5 with +1 to hit basically built in. So again, you add that -2 in there. I'm happy to be hit on 6s. We can sit here, they can roll 6s at me all day. That's really great. And I'm glad you got a nice I'm glad you got a fun first round too against a friend, because it's always fun playing a friend.
Oh yeah. No, he's a great dude for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about round 2, because that was a matchup that on paper I think is not very good for Disciples, Melee Marines. You played some Space Wolves, but you put up a really nice score. Can you talk about that game?
So that was Space Wolves, right?
Space Wolves with a lot of
Vosic. Yeah. So Justin. Yeah, so we've we've had a long running of playing each other, and for whatever reason we keep playing each other in tons of different games. Yeah. So he has a lot of like big high damage, like Thunderhammers and stuff like that. And that game was a little scary, honestly, because I started off and I went first. Yeah, I went first and I failed my Shadow Step with my Bloodletters. And that was terrifying because I pushed forward everything because I was like, I'm not going to fail Shadow Step twice. It'll be fine. And I did. I failed it twice. And but the way he positioned, he was actually all going in towards one in particular Plaguebearer squad with a bunch of if I remember this right, with a bunch of like high damage like woven and stuff like that. Yeah. And I warp surged the Plaguebearer squad, and I gave them the reroll ones on Feel No Pain, just like went all ham defensive for that because I felt the Bloodletter squad. That was if I would have passed the Shadow Step, I would have had 30 Bloodletters in his deployment zone with his, because he gave me a Dread, but the Dread was, I could have charged the Dread and the Woven at the same time, and it would have been just completely devastating. But that's how I beat him in the past. I literally just charged all the Bloodletters in, and it's hard for them to beat up. They have to take a whole turn or two to kill the Bloodletters, and then you're on every objective. Yeah, and, exactly. It's hard for them to fight back. They just don't have enough attacks. Is what it is.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of interesting about Bloodletters. People don't realize this. It's not just the offensive output. It's the fact that they have 30 bodies with invulns that are OBSEC in their face, and they're just going to lose they can't win the scoreboard unless they kill those. And then if they're killing those, you have all this other OBSEC pushing up. It's beautiful. I do have to ask about Bloodletters because they have my least favorite stratagem in the game. A lot of armies have fight on death stratagems. Like Wolfen can just fight on death for free. Like Bloodletters, you know what I'm talking about probably. They have it pains me to say this. They have a 3 CP. On a 4-up, they fight. What is this? Like, who published that? Other armies have like 2 CP or free fight on death, or like 3 CP for a 50% chance to fight. I mean, have you ever used that?
Yeah, I have used it. So in times, I feel like it's worth it. And other matchups, I'm sure it'll get brought up. But like, if you're charging, for instance, like a ton of Tau or something, and then you consolidate into a whole bunch of stuff, and then they all attack you, and then you know you're going to lose like a ton of bloodletters because you consolidated into their whole army, then yeah, it's like worth it, you know, because then you're going to kill a bunch of like breachers or whatever, and 3 CP. It's bad. It's bad. But I mean, like we gotta grab for whatever we can get here. Like anything's good at this point.
That's true. Well, and what's interesting is the one benefit of the stratagem, it specifically has a rider that you can, when you fight when you die, you can make attacks against units you are not eligible to make attacks against earlier or something. So basically,
if they kill you, you kill them no matter what.
Exactly. So you can go ahead and consolidate, fight things you couldn't fight before. And remember, 9th edition people, again, you probably know this, but for everyone else, they have to make attacks against you, and they have to use an actual weapon if they have one. And even things like broadsides, like randomly have actually good melee weapons for killing bloodletters. Cool, free attacks, all sorts of good stuff. But yeah, it should be, if you're going to spend 3 CP, it should be a free fight.
It should be a fight against stratagem. And then, I mean, there's been plenty of times that I've YOLO'd on the bloodletters, like because they hit a whole bunch of juicy stuff, and so I attack and attack again, and then I fight on death, and I'm spending 6 CP in a turn, but it does like crippling damage. Like I know that it's going to hurt so bad that it's going to be worth it, and I don't have to worry about anything else. And that's the only time I ever do that.
Yeah, well, because it's one of those things, right? What other stratagems are you using in most games? We really don't. Part of the benefit is we don't, because in all codex, our stratagems are garbage on the whole. So really, I mean, other than bloodletter stuff, like serious question, what stratagems do you use?
Warp Surge, Autocast on the Herald, every once in a while, a reroll, and the 2 CP to get my D6 dudes back for morale. That's pretty often. If things get real bad, like real hairy with them attacking multiple units with tons of damage, I might auto pass 2 units with 4. So you do the once per game auto pass, and then you can do the disciples 2 CP auto pass as well. But that's pretty much it. I mean, you can do fight again with the bloodletters. That's pretty good. But besides that, and also the reroll ones isn't great with the Plaguebearers, but if you know all the damage is going into one spot, it's quite good.
Yeah, no, that's no joke. Okay, cool. And +1 benefit of the Space Wolves, I was just checking. They had 2 units of Devastators, but they were Devastators with Grav and Melta. Which literally could not care less about. Like, please shoot Grav at me. That's perfect. Okay, let's talk about round 3, because on paper it looks scary. You played Harlequins, I think.
That was the hardest game of the term.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they weren't light like most people are. They were running dark, which is the I think the free fight on death, and they had a lot of the jet bikes. Can you talk about that game?
Oh yeah. So that was versus one of my teammates, honestly. Cool. So Monsolve, I've literally slept in the room with this guy in multiple times that we traveled, but I've never actually played him before, which is kind of funny. But we finally got paired together, and a great game. But so the gist of it is I think he should have beaten me if he would have just committed more of his resources. So because he has all those troops that come in, like especially the one that you can say that he just ignores my invulnerable saves.
Ooh, that's not good.
Like hits pink horrors and it's just like, and they're gone. So like I shielded the horrors with the Plaguebearers because I was just worried in general. But he played it very defensively. Like I think he played me like he was trying to play, most of the other armies that he plays. So he would kind of just have everything spread out and then would come at me with like a unit or 2 per turn. And that didn't do it because I'm way beefier than he thought I was. So he hit me and then I just didn't die. And then I got, D6 dudes back and D6 dudes back. And then that was a problem. And then I beat him in attrition. It was a really close game. But moral of the story is I just held the objectives and he couldn't get me off. And that was one of the stories I said earlier about the PCARs shooting 5 troops off the objective, and that was just clutch. But I think the army Dark's stronger than light. So I think Dark is the army to play. and if he would have committed everything, I don't think I could have done anything about it. If he would have pinned me in my corner and actually played him like old school Dark Eldar, where they come in with incubi and witches and just swarm you, and then you can't get out, like he would have won the game. He would have won the game just because I couldn't move.
Yeah. And that's what people don't realize is one of the big advantages of our army is people have not practiced against us, so we've practiced against them. Probably, like, I'm sure you've played Harlequins before. Most Harlequins players have not played Disciples of Bellicor before. That's kind of one advantage we have.
Huge advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't realize actually just how little damage we do with most of our stuff. You can come at us. You'll probably be fine.
Nothing done.
Very specific profiles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about round 4. Was against another of the meta terrors. Pretty brutal looking Farsight Enclaves list. I think they had a big Crisis Bomb. I had a Riptide, had the Cold Star Commander that everyone takes. They had Farsight, some Breachers, some of the forward deploying little guys. How did you win that game?
That list had 2 Riptides with 8 shots apiece, and it's not enough.
That's not going to do it.
It's not going to do it. Like it just on paper he had lost it before the game even started. Which is just kind of how I felt about the Space Wolf player as well. I feel like it just didn't have enough shots. It didn't have enough damage. Like we played Disciples of Bellicor, you can go into a lot of armies you're playing. You can look at their lists and just be like, they've already lost before the game even started because you don't have enough shots to get through it. And he would be great into like a Custodes player or something with just beefy stuff, but I knew it right off the bat. And we actually talked because he super cool dude. I hadn't played him before, but he talked to Mark Perry before the tournament. Mark Perry is a very, very good chaos player for Art of War. And he plays orcs and whatever, a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, we've been friends a long time. So he was like asking him to give him some advice on how to play me. And he was like, well, if you don't have screens, then the guns that aren't useful become your screens. And what he was saying was put the Riptides out front and then make them their buffer for the one unit of crisis suits that had the burst cannons that are terrifying. And but he deployed the burst cannons out front, and I hit him with a squad of Bloodletters and Flamers on turn 1 and cleared them all out. And it was pretty much, the game was over almost immediately. That was just tactical error, just because you don't play Disciples of Bellicor. People don't play them. People don't know.
Exactly.
I can tell you what I'm going to do, and I do it. I do it every time. I'm like, hey, I can teleport stuff. I can summon stuff. There's flamers in that box. I'm just saying there's flamers in the box. and then people don't like compute it sometimes. And then you hit them with a million attacks.
And what's interesting about that matchup is, again, Tau are a little bit like orcs, where they don't have great ballistic skill. They're all like ballistic skill 4. They get +1 from marker lights. Like if you can hit them with like a -1 or a -2, unless they have like insane volume, like multiple crisis with like air burst and burst cannons or whatever, you can kind of just walk forward and you're like, just cool. You can kill me. You can't kill enough of me though. And that's why I'm kind of loving Disciples these days, is because of all these Tau. We can kind of just run over a lot of Tau lists, and it's a beautiful thing.
Unless they're bringing, like you said before, full-on burst cannons and air bursts and stuff, and which I have a guy tomorrow that has a list that literally has my name in the title of the list. Something that I can't remember what it was. It was like delete Malpass or something like that, and he's bringing just the heat of air burst and burst cannons. So I'll probably be in trouble if I play that, to be fair.
All right, Brian. Well, I'm rooting for you. Well, let's talk about when you play a Tau list like that. Like, how's that? Have you practiced against lists like that before? What's kind of your tips?
So Quentin Johnson, I play him a lot, and he's a crazy Tau player. He's been Tau player a long time, and he's like sparring partner. And I have a really hard time when great players that play that many burst cannons and air burst is just really, really hard. Like you can't, like they have enough. Like
Yeah.
if you go, you got to go first. So first off, keep your bloodletters on the board, and all 30 of them. But he brings screens, so he'll have screens of fruit and stuff like that, and then he knows that you put them 3 inches in front, and then I can't charge the crisis suits, and he knows, like he knows what's up, and it's so hard. I mean, the only way that you do it is you charge them with your bloodletters. You try to keep them in their deployment zone for as long as you can, hold all the objectives, and then take all the secondaries that don't involve not dying. So Stranglehold for a good solid 3 turns, 4 turns if you're lucky, and try to minimize their primary, and then probably Rod, just because you can probably get Rod. But it's a bad match. I mean, when you're playing them that are, when you play the people that are kind of preparing for you bad day. But if they bring, if it's a normal towel list, I mean, with a normal player, then Disciples is gonna beat them. You know, that's how it goes.
No, and that makes complete sense. And that's one of those things where I think we'll definitely have a different conversation in a week from now, because I think Tower are definitely looking at a bit of a shake.
Oh yeah,
whatever comes soon.
No, one's crisis at unit one.
Yeah, exactly.
One.
Well, let's go to 0-0 on crisis suits. I'd be happy to see that. All right, let's talk about round 5, because that was, again, you've had an amazing run so far. You're 4-0 right now with Disciples of Bellicor, which, I mean, freaking well played to you. You ran into literally the worst list in the game right now. 9 light Harlequin Void Weavers with the usual Shadow Seer and Sniper and stuff. I just want to clarify for everyone watching, you made a hell of a battle out of it. It was what I think it was 97 to 84 or something.
Yeah, it was depressing that I lost the thing in general. It was sad. It was like I knew that I had lost probably around round 3, and they had already lost. I mean, mathematically, I knew I had lost, and but yeah, so that was against Robert Hawkins. He's a great player, and yeah, man, my light Harlequins they're not. I mean, they're broke as all get out. Like we all know they are. Like beforehand, and then you put them in the hands of a good player, and then you really just can't beat them. Like it's bad. He knew how to screen me.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing, is because I couldn't start my bloodletters on the board because I knew that he could come and get them if he wanted to, and so I held them in reserve. Here's the main thing that lost me that game was I held the bloodletters in reserve. He screened me out, and I was going to eliminate a flank so I could bring in the bloodletters, right? So I was going to do that with the flamers and the Hars. I was going to just concentrate fire on one side and leave some openings for the bloodletters come in, and then I could try to like hold most of the objectives on this side of the board. That's what I was trying to do. And I summoned the flamers in. Great, no problem. Everything's in. Flamers came down. Then I went to Shadow Step and I rolled and failed. And then I re-rolled that and I failed again. And the flamers were stuck in my deployment zone, and the bloodletters were up in the sky. And then he persisted to bring all of his stuff in and shoot the flamers. And I was still holding all the objectives. And that's the depressing part. And I was like, I maxed primary. I pretty much almost maxed most of my secondary objectives outside of to the last, like 1 stranglehold, I think.
Yeah.
And then 1 rod, I think is what I lost. And I scored a ton of points, but it didn't matter because he was Harlequins and he just had me on lock the whole time.
Yeah, which is a little unfortunate. And part of the struggle is people don't realize this, because the Void Weavers, they've got the 2d3 damage shots, but they also have the blast profile. And they also have the 6 of the little I don't know what they're called. They have those 2 damage guns. So they've got 15 shots per Void Weaver.
The Shuriken.
Yeah, the Shuriken cannons, yeah. And that's you bring 9 of those, and they're all pretty high quality shots. And they've got the volume of firepower to clear you out. And they've got the mobility edge on you. Well, especially when you're failing Shadow Step, then they definitely have the mobility edge on you.
Yeah, that was really the game. Like if I could have put the flamers, into a unit of the Voids, and then I was between the Horrors and the Flamers to kill one unit of voids. I needed one dead to leave me some space.
That'll
and
happen.
I could have had a shot at it, but I think I still would have lost. It's just, that's really, really tough. And also, when you're, the only reason that I even had a shot at the game at all is because he had put his one unit of voids slightly outside of range of his Shadow Spear.
So the 6-inch bubble, or the 6-inch bubble,
Yeah, well, no, he had the thing that was a 9-inch bubble. So even plus 3 inches to his auras or whatever it was. And so he was only slightly out, and he was the guy that was like, yeah, you know what, I'm a little out. I did, but if he would have just done it perfectly, like the game would have just been over. Like I couldn't have fought it.
Yeah,
there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, so for everyone at home listening, the issue with this is the Flamers, they've got this 12-inch range, they've got a perfect gun for killing Void Weavers, but they have the minus 6-inch range, so by definition, you can never be within range after a teleport. And there's just really nothing you can do about that. Which is unfortunate. Let's talk about the other mechanics, because I think it's very likely Void Weavers are gonna get some sort of just taken out behind a woodshed, just smacked down.
Most likely.
How do you?
So because I'm building them too, because it's ridiculous.
Right. Let's talk about other armies you haven't played or you didn't play in this tournament. How are you feeling about your list into Custodes?
I like it. Like I think Disciples into Custodes just don't have enough, right? They have big damage shots and they just don't have enough OBSEC. You're like, oh, cool, you're double OBSEC. You have 10 models on it. I have 50. Like it's like I think you just beat them. I think you just beat them in the end all. I mean, into Custodes, Flamers are great. You know, like really, really good. Obviously, they can transhuman them, so even if you give them +1 to wound, then they still make them 4s anyway. But you could be strength 5 +1 to wound with doing mortals on 6s. If I wanted to get cheeky, I start summoning a whole bunch of heralds and I just start smiting them to pieces, which I get a 4 against mortals, but still a 4 up against mortals, so just still hurting them. But I don't think that's the way to play it. I think the way to play it is just pile models on them and then pile more models on them. And then keep piling models on them, and they can't kill them, and then you just win the game.
So to be honest, I'm not trying to be dismissive to your player skill at all. I've played the matchup a bunch of times now, and really actually not sure how Disciples can lose to Custodes, because they just come in they hit my Plaguebearers, they kill like 10 with like jet bikes. I bring like 4 or 5 back. I'm like, wait, now I'll be alive for 5 turns. I win. Like I'm confused how they're supposed to win. So I'm actually really hoping Custodes don't get nerfed too much, because I think Chaos has always been really good in the Custodes relative to other factions. So
it's a great matchup. I haven't played it in a tournament. I've played it elsewhere, but I haven't had a lot of. Honestly, I think the only time I played Custodes in a tournament, I was playing the last table, and then I ended up having to go to work, and I couldn't finish the game, which was sad because I probably would have won that tournament. But what can you do?
It happens.
You gotta make money to buy the figurines first, right?
That is true. Let's see, what are some other good armies? I know things like Knights or Dreadnought heavy builds. I think we're pretty good into. What do you think?
Super good. Yeah, cool. Just if they don't tech for building shooting hordes down, which there is virtually no horde builds out right now. I mean, with freaking Tyranids coming out, right? It's a pretty big thing. With we might start seeing people, and they start seeing more of these. It really depends on what happens with Harlequins too, right? If Harlequins are not nerfed, we might see more mass shots instead of big heavy damage. The meta is going to shift huge depending on what they do in the next 2 weeks, or no, this week, right? Like
I think coming up next week. We're getting close.
That's going to be it's going to be massive. But once we get rid of Harlequins, we have to deal with Eldar, and Eldar are just nuts, and people forget how nuts they are. Especially some of these shuriken heavy Dire Avenger lists. They're going to hurt us. That's not good.
That's not good at all.
they're my buddy Charlie plays a Eldar list that I played in a tournament recently, and he just oof, like it's just too many shots, man. He's got too much, and they'll devour the hordes, and that's going to be a problem. So we'll probably have to pivot a little bit here if they nerf Harlequin so bad that we're in a position of Eldar taking over. I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Chaos is at its best. Well, I mean, they're at their best when they're actually good, but they're not good right now. So they're at their best when there's like one or two armies that are very clearly like the list to tech for, because we've got so much weird stuff. Like we can tech, like if our only goal is like just beat Custodes or like just beat Harlequins, we can do that better than a lot of other factions.
Sure.
When there's like 8 different types of armies that are good and popular, we're like, wait, we just don't have the data sheets to actually match up to everyone. But what's interesting is let's talk about Chaos overall, because you played Disciples and you're doing very well with them, but as you say, the meta might shift. But what are some other Chaos armies you're looking at right now? If you didn't have to play Disciples, like what would you be bringing for Chaos?
Ooh, for Chaos. I don't know. I mean, I saw that whole Emperor's Children thing going on there with the craziness and the super alpha strike, and it seems good, but I just feel like you just have to go first, right? You have to be, and then you have to pair into the right kind of armies, or you're going to be in bad shape. I'm more of a counter meta guy. I like playing armies that are, for instance, like my LVO list this past year was 24 Beasts of Nurgle, and then a unit of Zinch. Thousand Suns Sorcerers. Pretty much what it was. Great Unclean One, and the Snail, stuff like that. And like I like to take the hits and still be able to. I build armies that are, if you don't have the tools to beat them, then you kind of lose. And I feel like that's a really good strategy going into big tournaments, because most people don't. You get through most of them, and then you get to the end in the big tournaments, anyways. But if you're playing little tournaments, you're only actually attacking for like 3 people. Like, like, hey, look, I can get through the casual Ultramarines and whatever Blood Angels player. I can get through him with most anything. But then you have to deal with the 3 dudes at the end that are playing, the meta armies, and that's what you're attacking for. So that's to answer your question. I don't know what the next. I own pretty much all the Chaos, so I'm just going to play whatever plays good into whatever's good next.
Sure, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I was playing a lot of Thousand Suns around the time of Tau, because I think Thousand Suns are pretty good in the Tau. But I played Thousand Suns a couple of games against the new Nids, and
you played the new Nids? I haven't played them yet.
Yeah, I practiced against them a couple times, and there are some potential balance issues in that book. That's all I'm going to say. Not to sound salty, because again, happy for Nids players. They deserve some love. But
do they have some ridiculous things that like make you perils on everything with your psychic powers? And
not even that so much. So I was playing Thousand Suns, and I had Ahriman, I had a couple Exalteds, I had Doom Bolts, and a bunch of damaging powers. And let me say this: I was Thousand Suns, and I was absolutely getting clobbered in the psychic battle. Like, it was insane. Like, he was just way out more wounding me.
That's
he was
ridiculous.
Just I was like, cool, I've got Ahriman, and cook up a flat 3 damage Doom Bolt. That feels really good. And he's like, yeah, take a 4 plus 3 damage mortal wound thing. I was like, how are you winning this mortal wound battle?
What?
Yeah, and it was funny.
Well, the psychic with these new books, like the psychic stuff, like with the Eldar, that oh man, like what is the Edrich Storm thing, and you have like 3 warlocks on top of it. Have you seen
the exploding circle thing? Yeah,
like that is it's like, oh, that unit does, it's doing what is it, D3 plus 4 mortal wounds plus 3 mortal wounds to everything in this 6-inch bubble. Like, dude, that's freaking really good. I mean, obviously you have to roll 4 up, I think, for characters, but if you roll 4 up, character's dead. Versus demon players, it's not. I have to. I know that's going to happen, and I spread them out all over the board. But yeah, like the psychic phase is getting I mean, Thousand Suns got the shaft. Let's just be perfectly fair. Like we're supposed to be just dominating the psychic phase, and they didn't. I like them, but
yeah, it's tough because All's Dust is a great rule against like air bursts and stuff like that, where there's like a lot of 2 damage out there with Harlequins and stuff like that. But I think they're just a little overcosted. I think the core rolls are really cool, like the Cabal thing is. I'm here for it, but yeah, they definitely need some more stuff on the board. Because it was tough because I was writing a list and I'm big on screening, so my list had like 20 cultists and had a pair of rhinos, and they can give them the 5 field and Pangus Mortals, and I was like, cool, he's got a mortal wound heavy list. I don't care, I've got enough screening. And then he just blew through like 40 wounds of my stuff in his first psychic phase, and I was like, oh no. and then when the mortal wounds started hitting my Terminators, it was just kind of over.
Over. I'm excited to see that. I mean, I'm a big psychic phase guy. I love psychic. I love. I've been playing that a long time. Funny enough, with Thousand Suns, for a minute there, I was playing just 2. Oh gosh, how many? 10? Or was it 9? 9 sorcerers. 9 sorcerers, and just summoned pink horrors. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And so if you go into the game, you have Thousand Suns, and so you'll 3 Terminator sorcerers, which will be your to the last.
Yeah.
And then you'll also have your Cabal points, so you can auto cast spells. So you can just go ahead and count up your interrogation or your warp ritual or whatever you want. So those are two auto passes on your secondaries. And then Stranglehold seems like a pretty good idea, even though your demons aren't technically offset because you're 1,000 Suns. You're still going to have a lot of bodies on all the objectives. And I thought that was really cool army. I love it. Just starting the thing is all this air bursts and all the stuff that's indirect fire. Like they'll just shoot your sorcerers, and if you don't have anything to defend them. So I thought about maybe put them like 2 rhinos, just like 2 rhinos with some, a unit of rubrics, maybe 2 units of rubrics, and then just sorcerers in the rhinos. Yeah. But then you have to get out of the rhinos, and then you have to summon. It was just too much of a problem. But I like the idea of it. I thought it was really cool.
It sounds really fun. Have you played things like Death Guard, and you mentioned cast-based brains like the Emperor's Children list a little bit, which I think is still a really fun list, even if it's not as good as it used to be. What are your thoughts on Death Guard?
I think they're just absolute trash. Like I love Death Guard. I mean, I have the Plaguebearers crawlers and stuff, but they're just beat down right now. They need some serious help overall. I mean, I don't know much more to say about it. I mean, last time you played a Death Guard army that you weren't just like, I'm just going to run this guy over and he's got no shot. Like I haven't been saying that since last year's ACO. Like it's like they're in such bad shape. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, Plaguebearers crawlers did go down, so
they're great.
There's some play there.
Yeah,
with three Plaguebearers crawlers in a list, I think maybe would be kind of cool.
Well, the issue with the Death Guard list is you're right. Put a battalion in, you go to Battle Scry or whatever, and you put in your 3 Plaguebearers crawlers, and then you're just like, I literally don't want to put anything else in the list. Like nothing else here looks appealing.
All trash. It's just so bad. Like it's crazy too, because I have like the most gorgeous Nurgle armies. Like they're super pretty, and I want to play them, but there's not a lot there. It's like I wanted to build an army of Plaguebearers crawlers and flamers because they both went down, and I thought they were the most best thing that Chaos had. Yeah. But we'll have to see what happens with the new book, and
for sure.
Which most likely won't be this year, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, and Death Guard again, they do have some cool stuff. Like I really like I think melee Plague Marines. Again, they just have a lot of issues, but they hit weirdly hard. I'm still a fan of them when they get to do their thing. I think if you run the Wretched, they can make a really cool Plaguecaster that does like a weird amount of mortal wounds.
Yeah.
If you had to, Brian, if you had to pick Death Guard today, which I wouldn't make you do that in actual tournament. If you had to pick a Death Guard list, like what are you looking at for Death Guard these days?
Oh man.
Okay, let me ask you a better question, because that sounds, I can see the look in your face.
What
changes do you think Death Guard need, and like realistically get in a data slate to make you want to play them?
I just think the change to Disgusting and Resilient was just huge. Like that was massive. Like that. I mean,
Yeah.
if they just would have kept that in the army, I think the army
Mhm.
would be fine right now. But the -1 damage is like whatever.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. To give it this full on death guard. I don't. I really like the pox dudes. I've never ran them, but I think like running a ton of those guys.
Boxwalkers. Yeah.
Yeah, it still has some play. I can't remember
Yeah.
their stratagems though.
They just
Uh,
drop into on a 6 to hit, they do a mortal wound. They have
oh
two.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they kill
that's
themselves,
no
right?
joke. Yeah, it's no joke. They'll mess things up.
Ooh.
Um,
Man, I don't know. It's been so long since I just ran a straight up death guard list that to make an educated guess on that, I don't know. I have no idea what they needed.
that's totally fine. Obviously they just need to get back army wide, 6 up, feel no pain, and then this plague surgeon, because he currently gives a 6 up, feel no pain. You have a 5 up, feel no pain near him, so you kind of get that old magic back. I would run that list, but until they get something like that, let's talk about something. Let's end kind of here on this note of Disciples of Bellicor going forward, because there's been the leaks that you'll be able to like add a Chaos Knight to your list. Now, obviously, we don't know the full details publicly of what exactly is going to happen with Chaos Knights. Let's talk about like what you're looking for in Chaos Knights, and would you add a knight to your list if you could?
Well, yeah, I had this conversation. I think one big knight isn't the way to go. I don't think that's. I think honestly, the strength of the Bellicor army is the troops and the fact that you have, like I said earlier,
Yeah.
to just nullify all your big damage stuff, right? So I feel like that's important. And by just throwing a knight, it's like now we have a super expensive knight and a super expensive Bellicor, and it's like either you need to like tech into like really big stuff and then hope the big high damage stuff and hope they don't have enough high damage, which is not the meta now. The meta will just eat that alive.
No, that's good.
Yeah, 0% good. So I think it's cool. I need to actually read up on the little knights. I don't know all their guns off the top of my head, but if there is a squadron of little knights that have lots of shots, that sounds pretty cool, because technically doesn't Bellicor give them 4 rerolls and then they're -1 to hit?
That's a good question. I'd have to look into that. Yeah, because there's something where he gives them. He has the chapter. I'm not sure if that's allowed, but my worry is that exactly, because people have been talking about like, oh, I can't wait to add like a Rampager or something to my Disciples of Bellicor. And I'm like, that's literally Bellicor is your melee knight in the list. Like
trash.
Yeah, and then
I think it's all bad.
Yeah. Well, hold up, Brian. Let me hit you with an idea. It's something like Bellicor, a big shooting knight, and a bunch of like beasts of Nurgle.
Yeah. I mean, to be
here.
Yeah.
And let me hit you with something, Brian. We're getting really spicy here on you. Like a soul grinder or two. Just go big. Well, give me some thoughts.
We talked about this before. I want soul grinders to be good so bad. So like I love like Nurgle grinders. I think they'd be really cool. They just don't have enough. They don't have enough shots. They don't have enough attacks. They just
do nothing.
Yeah.
But they're you have to give me that. They're weirdly durable for their.
I know. Look. I'm all for it. I'd love to try it. Like three soul grinders. Put a knight or something in there, and then Bellicor, and then Beast of Nurgle, and then just be really beefy. Would it work now? Absolutely not. Like it's just they would there's just too much damage, and they're just gonna blow away everything you got. They don't care if you have Feel No Pain or you're -1 to hit. They don't care. It's just gonna you're gonna play a Tau player, and so you're gonna play some just random Tau guy that doesn't know what he's doing. That's got freaking 3 hammerheads, and he's gonna blow you off the board. You're gonna lose, and like you're gonna lose first round in some tournament somewhere to a guy that played his tournament, like 3rd tournament ever. He's gonna blow you up.
Exactly, and that's ultimately one of those things in 40K, because Disciples is very much a high like skill army, and it's not to sound like not with like any ego, not saying like, oh, you have to be a genius to run it, but simply it's an army that to win with this army you have to be very good at like movement, like playing out your turns and stuff. There's a lot of armies in the game right now that are not that way. And you have to make sure that, again, as you say, you can't bring an army that just auto loses to 3 hammerheads, because that's not a great list. That's a list you can see round 1 at some random tournament. and then you go home very sad because you're like, hey, I lost to a guy, and I was also coaching him during the game and kind of explaining how things work. But that's one of those things where, again, it's a fun army to play, and you're showing it can win. It has a lot of legs. Disciples are a great core, and if we get some points drops, we get some data sheet changes in the new codex, I think it could easily be one of the very best armies in the entire game.
Oh my gosh, no! If we get data sheet changes, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, what I was talking about this earlier. What we should do is we should get some demon players, and we should when the new demon dex comes out, we should pick 4 of us. We all take an in particular god, and we should just run up the ITC scores for the in particular gods. So I think it'd be awesome. Like just whatever teams we belong to right now, we just put it aside, and then we make like a demons team. We just beat up all the people on the in particular gods. I think it would be so much fun.
Well, last topic, actually, this is perfectly fits in. The last topic I want to talk about was what you want to see out of a future Demons Codex. Because again, it's not coming anytime soon, or at least the rumors people are saying, but it will come eventually. I promise people listening, at some point in 9th edition, you're going to have a Demons Codex. What do you want to see in terms of changes to units, or like what's like a mono-faction role you want to see for Demons?
Oh man, I want Khorne to be good. I just want Khorne to be even in the hemisphere of good. Like, I have a little hesitation here because so many people play Khorne that if they make them, I think Khorne is either going to be amazing or just not good.
That's fair.
I don't know. I don't know if they can just not make them broken. But and if they make them broken, everyone has Khorne. Everyone's going to play it. It's just going to
people love Khorne. It's the classic demon. Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna be a thing. I want them to be good, like we mentioned before, like a stratagem that gives you an auto 8-inch advance roll or something like that. That would, that'd be cool. Yeah, this borderline broken, but it would be fluffy. It would be a lot of fun. I think if we could do just all I want is just give us some tricks like everybody else has.
Yeah.
Give me access to rerolls. All right. Give me access to like +1 to hit. Give me access to -1 to hit. Some kind of transhuman situation. Like nothing crazy. Just do what everybody else is getting, and then just give that to demons. And then I think we're perfectly one of the most. Actually, if you give that to demons, I think we're broke. I think it's going to be silly good. So if you have people that'll actually paint up all those models and play a horde army, then it's a problem. It's like we'll become orcs. That's the reason they took all the cool hordes from orcs, right? Like
exactly. We'll be the new orcs. And the funny thing is that demons have an advantage in that like we're just an intrinsically good army in 9th edition. So we've got a lot of obsec bodies. That's just like if all armies are equal power, like demons are gonna be very good. So we almost like have to we're bad right now. Like our data sheets, like compared to other codexes, are just horrendous. Like seriously, have you ever looked at like a Blood Crusher data sheet in the last 2 years? It's literally laughable.
Talk about Blood Crushers around me. Oh my gosh, I own so many Blood Crushers. That was my first true love was Blood Crushers.
Yeah,
but
it's like the coolest thing in the game. Like a Bloodletter riding this big demon. But again, like the data sheet just literally just doesn't work at all in the game currently. But again, as you said,
which you can't put cavalry around GW terrain.
Which I don't fully understand why like a Beast of Nurgle can go through a wall, but Blood Crusher is like wow.
They're cavalry, so
take it to charge.
You can't charge through buildings.
Yeah.
Oh man. But you can do mortal wounds on a 2-up and kill a screen. But if they just put their stuff 1.5 inches away from the wall, then you just can't charge anything. You can't go in there. Oh, I love Blood Crushers, but complete trash.
And the funny thing is, we have so many cool chariots too. Like every god has some sort of chariot, basically. Like the Slaanesh has so many chariots. The Khorne's got like the blood cannon and the blood throne. Tzeentch has the really cool chariots. And I just realized at some point in that edition was that they don't give lookouts, sir. Like the army has kind of just been entirely left behind. What do you want to see out of the chariots? Because that's like the kind of like the weirdest unit in the army for people that don't play demons. Like what do you think realistically in the 9th edition codex we're going to see?
I think they're going to buff them to death because no one has.
I hope so.
So no one bought them, no one did anything with them. So ultimately I think GW wants to make money, so they're going to probably make them pretty strong. I don't know. I mean, I think they're probably going to be, if you give chariots, I don't even know the profile. Like, 'cause I don't even run them. So like, what is the like a Khorne chariot? I don't think that exists, right? Like they have the skull.
They have the HQ, the Blood Throne. It's like
The Blood Throne. That's right. The
T7. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like we're going true Demons fans here. We're making some deep cuts.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
No one runs a Blood Throne.
No, Bloodseed. Like realistically, I think the Tzeentch Chariot, for example, like if they put some love into that, that could be a crazy data sheet. Give it something like, Eldark knew the thing where they like Baharoth or whatever can like teleport after he fights or whatever. Give something like that to the Tzeentch Chariots. Give them like a battle focus move or something.
Yeah. I mean, teleport after you fight is insane.
Yeah.
Or they'll be able to fall back when you're shot at stuff. Like
something.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you should give that to Tzeentch. That sounds smart, right? Like that's like a
exactly
very Tzeentch power. Like you got to shoot at them, and they foresee that you were shooting at them, so they fell back, and you can't shoot them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Grey Knight's power, though, right? Grey Knights.
Yeah, Grey Knights have it. And Harlequins can move when they're charged. Bad Mech can too. But it's one of those things. I really hope the Demon's Codex gets a lot of love because there's so many like iconic units, just beautiful models, just waiting for some love.
Oh yeah.
So Bryan, I just want to say that obviously you're someone that loves demons. I know I've seen your name around a few tournament results before, so you've been kicking butt with them for a while, and I can't wait to see what you do going forward with them. And once we get a new codex, let's absolutely go in there on some demons lists and
let's do it. We should.
Cook up something spicy.
We'll take the individual gods. It'll be great. Good time.
Yeah, it was really funny actually because the cast Space Marine rankings the last year was kind of fun. I had a rivalry. There was like myself playing Emperor's Children, Russell, I don't know if you know him down in Texas, playing Black Legion, total beast. We had guys like Mark Whitaker on World Eaters. We had a lot of fun like seeing which legions we're going to finish. So we'll do a similar thing with demons. Yeah, Brian, I just want to say thank you so much.
I lost to Mark Whitaker one time.
Oh, you lost to Mark Whitaker. Oh no! You can't.
Was he playing?
He was probably playing World Eaters with a Lord of Skulls.
Okay, was he playing Lord of Skulls and he had like a bunch of like rhinos and he like big move blocking guy would move block all the stuff with the rhinos and have this was ACO. This is ACO years ago.
It was ACO. If it was ACO, that's probably him because he made a really great run at ACO with World Eaters.
I was there. I lost to him. Yeah. So the I brought a
You can't lose to Mark. I say Mark, if you're listening, nothing but love, man. But you can't lose to a guy. You can't lose to a World Eaters player. I think you have to get some revenge on him if you see him sometime.
No. This is what happened. So I was just getting back into the scene of playing, and I hadn't played that much. And I was playing Araman and Lure Change, that list, right, with all the psychic powers and whatnot. And he surprised the absolute shit out of me. He freaking threw all his stuff in my face, and then I couldn't get out. I wasn't playing that great of a list, to be fair, but he did. He beat the pants out of me. it's been a minute. And he went 5-1 with World Eaters that tournament, right? So
He was bringing the heat. That's what I love about Demons players, right? We're coming in here, we're playing. We've been fighting uphill all edition, except for Death Guard for like 1 week when they were really good. We're still looking guys that keep finishing like really high. Like you finished, third at this GT. I finished third at GT. Mark obviously finished really high at ACO. Russell won a freaking major down in Texas with Black Legion. Chaos players, man, we just don't stop fighting.
One with Black Legion? I didn't see that.
I'm not joking. It was some point, it was like 6 months ago, and it was right after Orcs came out. And like literally like half the field was at Orcs. And he brought a bunch of Dreadnoughts with Abaddon for the full hit rerolls and the -1 damage. And he's just like,
oh man,
I'm just gonna pick up like 1,000 points of buggies a turn. And
that's so good.
Russell's a great player. I've talked to him. He plays angles really well. But that's why I love playing Chaos, man. At the end of the day, like it feels like we're always in an uphill battle. There's always like some jank we can pull and still beat these better armies. But yeah, Bryan, I was supposed to say thanks so much for coming on, man. Obviously, you're super knowledgeable at Chaos, super passionate, and I know I'll see you again at a bunch of other tournament finishes.
Oh yeah, we'll be together. Alaska and Florida. Y'all going to any more here in any GW tournaments?
I'm actually heading to the Seattle Open in a half because that's it's the closest geographically. And to be honest, I'm a little ticked off because I'm seeing all this new Chaos Knights stuff, and I love Chaos Knights. Obviously, it's not going to be coming out for the tournament, so I'll be like browse, like have a bunch of lists I want to play, and I have to play Disciples. I'll actually probably hit you up about the list at some point because I'm gonna go on Disciples because I want to take them to a major one time, just before we get our new codex. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
But yeah, Brian, thanks so much for coming on, man. I know it's getting late on the East Coast. I just want to say best of luck and keep crushing people down there, and good luck to your tournament tomorrow.
Thank you. Good talking to you guys.
Joining us here at Warphammer today. Brought you some more great Disciples of Be'lakor content. I know there's more exciting chaos stuff coming up soon. Brian, have a great evening, man. Pleasure talking to you.
You guys.
Good night, brother.